All right, welcome back to LWN Network tonight. We got a special show for you. We're just shooting off the hip. This is, I've been called Last Minute Larry, and I love it because you just never know when we might pop up. So tonight, we're going to talk about the tariffs. We're going to talk about China. I had a concerned citizen reach out to me today, and they wanted to talk about how this might be impacting people and is there serious consequences for some of these tariffs? Or is Tammy going to show up tonight and sell us on Trump and his tariffs and what they mean? So breaking news tonight, we've got India bombing the shit right out of Pakistan because Pakistan, I guess, attacked them earlier today. And then we also have Israel bombing the shit out of the Houthis too. So lots to talk about, and we'll be back right after the intro.
If you do, you won't survive. People are sick and people are tired, but inside of me rages a fire. We the people are going to burn this corruption to the ground. Yeah, we the people will fight fire with fire starting now. You can see more and more people like me are breaking the chains of slavery. America's at a breaking point. Once we strike that match, there's no way to turn back. We the people are gonna burn this corruption to the ground. Yeah, we the people will fight fire. Going to burn this corruption to the ground. Yeah, we the people will fight fire with fire starting now. Gonna watch them run, gonna watch it burn, gonna watch it all come down. Yeah, we the people are gonna burn this corruption to the ground. With fire starting now. Gonna watch them run, gonna watch it burn, gonna watch it all come down, yeah.
All right, we're back in. This time it is personal. I have Tammy the Hammer Nation with me tonight. I also have special guest. I like to call her concerned citizen because we had a conversation this afternoon, and she brought up the fact that she really would like somebody to talk about what's going on with the tariffs in China and shipping, what may or may not be on the shelves in the next weeks, coming months, possible year. And so I invited her to come on the show with me this evening. So we'll go ahead, producer, and bring in Kristen. Hello, Kristen. And
Hello.
you guys might have remembered her from the Wolfpack that we did, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. So she joined me and Neil on that. So how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fabulous.
I'm glad you're right
I'm
here in the
excited
studio
to
with
be
me.
here. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate and look forward to talking with both of you this evening.
Awesome. How about Tammy Nation? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, and I love.
Uh-oh, she's muted. What's going on?
We gotta get rid of that.
Technical difficulties right out the gate. Love it.
But I'm looking forward to it tonight. Kristen, welcome. I'm gonna stop.
I've got nothing.
Got nothing.
She was so good just a minute ago, too.
All right. I know. Did you do something to your own mic? Because
No.
you sure?
Hands off.
All right. Well, producer's working on it, so we'll get back to Tammy. But
We love this.
we're going to talk about quite a bit of stuff tonight. So, we're going to talk about the tariffs. You guys can see on the screen right now. That is the call-in number if you'd like to call in. You can go ahead and call in now, and you can wait in the waiting room. We'll bring you in when I'm ready to bring you in. You will be able to hear the show live in the waiting room if you don't want to watch and you want to just hear so you can get on tonight. I encourage anybody and everybody call in. Give us your opinion on tariffs. Give us your opinion on China and the shipments. There's a lot of... I'm going to say this. There's a lot on both sides. There's the side that's saying that tariffs are going to really help America, and a lot of people are excited about it. And then there's the side that's concerned, people getting hurt because of tariffs. But again, I've been hurt over policy myself, and so we're going to try to get a little bit of both sides tonight. And Kristen is here to represent people. Thank you. We already got a caller. So let's just, like I said, let's wait until I bring them in. They can hear the show while it's live. Mm-hmm. But Kristen's wanting to give us perspective of, just normal, everyday Americans and what maybe they're concerned about. And then Tammy's here to talk about Trump policies and how they seem to be working or can work or can change the face of America. And so that's the conversation tonight. Plus, we're going to throw in some Pakistan and India and some Israel and the Houthis. So now, Tammy, there she is.
Do I get to talk? Am I good now?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I'm going to start over again and say it's great to be here. Kristen, it's great to do the show with you. I'm glad that you decided to come aboard. And I think that getting different perspectives is awesome. When we talk about tariffs and stuff, are we specialists? No. But are we concerned citizens like Kristen is? Absolutely 100%. There's going to be people that are fighting on both sides. And before we get into the meat of it all, I'm just going to say the people that are losing money or losing jobs because of the tariffs really shouldn't be having the jobs and doing what they were doing the way they were doing business in the first place. So those of us who suffered for the Biden administration the last 4 years or so with our jobs and different things he implemented it in his policies. Now it is other people's turns and we try to rectify the situation. So I'm going to say that, are we experts? No. I'll repeat that again. Do we have opinions? Yes. Do you need to investigate? You absolutely do. I've been doing a lot of research and investigation, and it depends on where you go, because there's people out there showing video of being terrified because everything's empty. And then there's people from China that are actually this YouTube site that I love, it's called the China Observer, that are showing China is suffering massively already from what Trump has implemented. So I think that's a good sign, because everybody was afraid that China was just going to go on without us and we were going to be screwed and tattooed. And that's not the truth.
Yeah. And there's video out there of people being afraid of what's going on. And then there's people saying, well, there's no ships in Seattle. China hasn't sent any ships to Seattle, but yet there was a video that just came out today where a gentleman that actually works on the docks in Seattle drove down through there and showed all the ships that were already docked there in Seattle. So it's really hard to distinguish what's real, what's not real, what's bullshit, it's a mess. And so we're giving people an opportunity to call in tonight. And Sage, if you want to call in, the number's on the screen, call in. I would be cautious on calling myself an expert on tariffs. I've done a lot of study on tariffs myself, and I am by no means considered an expert in any of this stuff. So it's just we really want to give people a voice, I guess, tonight. That's the whole part of this show is letting whoever wants to call in tonight. You get a couple of minutes. We're not going to hang out. I said that last night with the call-in show. Every minute that we're on, it costs me money, and so it's not a hangout session. You get to call in, say your piece, make a comment, ask a question, and then we're going to move on. So I don't even know where to start tonight because I'm pretty excited about the call-in. We got people in the waiting room right now. So why don't we just start with Tammy first? And Tammy, since you got more experience, why don't you go ahead and just kind of talk about the tariffs and what you know about them in China, and then I want to give Kristen an opportunity to speak about maybe some of the concerns she has and some of the things she's been seeing and hearing, and then we'll go to the call lines. So it's going to be a good 10 minutes or so for the callers that are in the waiting room right now, and you can hear us. We're live, so go ahead.
So I'm going to start off at the beginning with tariffs. We have been doing business the wrong way from the get-go.
I
So
agree.
if you've been doing business in the field of shipping and industry and all that and making a living, good for you, but it's been done wrong because we've been taking it in the rear end because of the tariffs that were charged on us. We weren't charging other people. We aren't allowed to export and do certain things to different countries, but they're allowed to import into our country, and we pay a high price. Shein is a good example from China. All the kids and, even younger women and men love Shein because it's so cheap. But in reality, we are outsourcing all that to them, right? All these jobs at slave labor there and stuff. How many $2 sweaters do we need as women? So we have to also, or men, we have to understand and prioritize that we want things, lots of things that our own greed also influence this and help procure this right across the sea. So if we are shipping all our industries out and then we're complaining because a lot of people are complaining about Shein already, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Trump is doing that because now we can't get our $2 shirts, our 50-cent earrings and blah, blah, blah. That should have never been that way in the first place because look at the shape this country is in, the debt we are in, and how we have been just taking it in the rear. And that's what really ticks me off. I don't care what you've been doing for how long you've been doing it with the tariffs. I want America first. I want that money brought back into this country, and let's have fair trade. It's as simple as that. India came in and is offering a 0 for 0 trade on some of their products, including steel, auto parts, pharmaceuticals, and stuff like that. So they're negotiating. India is pretty big, right? So there's a lot of countries that have come in with these tariffs. They're trying to get in before the 90-day pause, because Trump put the 90-day pause in. He just wants to talk to people. He just wants to negotiate and have a fair deal. Why is that such a pain in people's rear end? I don't understand it. Fear of the new and the change and the hurt we're going to take is real. I understand that. But we have to go through a little bit of that to have the growth for the future generations to come. And that's my little speech.
Trump's been talking about this since the 80s. This isn't something that he just came up with in the last week or month or the last 4 years or even the last 8 years. This is something that Trump's been talking about. He's been on Oprah and other shows. Larry King is another one that he was on back in the 80s, talking about how China's definitely been kicking our ass in trade, and a bunch of countries have been kicking our ass in trade because of tariffs and because we just haven't had fair trade. And so he's making that change. This is what America voted for. And whether you voted for him or you voted for the other guy, the votes were counted, and this is what most of America wanted. That's why he's president of the United States again. And that's kind of where we have to figure out where do we go from here. So, Kristen, why don't you go ahead and let us know what are some of the things that sparked this conversation this afternoon that you've been seeing on social media, and some of it, you may agree with, some of it you may not agree with, and some of it seems to be concerning to you. So go ahead.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm just going to start by saying I knew Tammy was going to bring it tonight. And so I made LW promise. You can't just pit me that I have to be against, because I am not against what you are saying. And I am very much a supporter of a lot of the policy that's happening here. What I am saying is that I've seen your shows, right? I watched you guys, but I don't know that the majority of Americans are following the political landscape quite as closely as everyone who maybe really is a follower of this show. And so I think there's a lot of people who are going to work full time, then they're coming home, they're dealing with kids, they're doing whatever, and they're getting up and doing it again the next day. And in the meantime, the prices of everything have gone up. They can't get 18 of their $2 sweatshirts that they want delivered next week. And so I think that there's fear mongering, of course, right, going on that is saying, hey, the ports are empty. What are you going to do? But the reality is I just watched LW and Joel the other night talking about what are we going to do if, and we call it, shit hits the fan or whatever that looks like. But what if the scenario is not quite that, and it's more that you cannot get the goods that your family needs to survive? And what does that look like, and how are we talking about it? Because that's really what comes up to me, is that I feel like some people are talking about it, but we really need to have an actual voice of people who know what's going on and are following that landscape.
I agree. I love that aspect, and you're correct. Not everybody follows it as intensely as LW and or I or some of the people that are in chat. You're right, because they're busy with their lives. So the fear factor absolutely comes in, because it's lack of the ability to have time to be able to investigate deeply, and you've got a life to live. I get that, and you're 100% right. But the thing that gives me confidence is Trump has been doing this for over 30 years. I don't think he's going to come in and cause us all to starve or not have product in doing what he was doing. It would cost him his reputation. There'd be civil war. Who knows what would happen? So I believe he does have a plan, and a lot of people are coming and negotiating at the table. Are we always going to agree with the way he does things? Absolutely not. But I love his track record that he puts America first and families first. And we have been suffering so bad. We haven't been able to put food on the table very well with the last administration. Everything's so expensive. We haven't been able to find jobs. We're losing jobs. Now we have robotics, AI, and everything else coming into this country, costing us more jobs. So in reality, would we be better off if he wasn't doing tariffs? I don't think so. And I think LW should talk now.
Well, I'm letting you ladies talk. I can see both sides. I can see the side where America is sick and tired of the way things have been ran. And, this is what I'll say. I've worked a lot of years in construction, and I know lots of people in chat have all kinds of experience. Well, so do I. And I remember one time working for a company, my brother and I were there, and we went out on site on an oil pad, and the two guys that had been working for this company for 4 years started doing the project, and the way they were doing it, my brother questioned them. And he said, well, what are you doing? How come you're doing it that way? And the gentleman said, well, this is the way we've been doing it for 4 years. My brother looked at him and said, well, you've been doing it wrong for 4 years. Now, I don't know how many years. I think it was somewhere in 1913 is when this all switched and changed, somewhere around that date. It doesn't matter if it was 4 years ago that we started conducting this type of business in America in our trade, or if it was 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Really don't give a shit. I feel like we've been doing it wrong this whole time. And some of the stuff that I was researching today links all into this stuff, which is way too deep to cover tonight. But this is a lot of this is by design, and it's to control, and it's to control the middle class, it's to control Americans, and so Trump is breaking out of that mold. So I see that side of it, and I also see the side of Kristen here, where, people are losing their jobs because of these policies. Well, guess what? I lost my job in 2021 because of policies from the previous administration. It cost me my frickin' job. and I had to roll up my tent, I had to move, and I had to do something different to make a living. So policies affect everybody, whether it's negative or positive. And guess what? 4 years from now, if a Democrat gets into office, they bring their policies in, I'm sure it's going to probably eventually affect me in a negative way too. So I guess what I'm saying is everybody's affected, and you got to figure out where you fit in that puzzle. And are you going to gain from these policies? Is these tariffs going to make life better for you, better for your business? Or is it going to be more of a, hey, I got to figure shit out. This isn't working for me. So the fear and the fear mongering that Kristen's talking about with families being afraid. I just read an article where Temu wasn't going to be able to deliver things, and they come straight from China. I guess my question to the people who are losing Temu right now, is there really that much shit in Temu that you absolutely have to have as a necessity? Or is it more just cheap-ass shit? Kristen had brought up a comment to me earlier today. Well, what about Amazon? And a lot of people shop Amazon. There's a lot of things on Amazon, I would say, maybe not a necessity. Like if you don't get it, you're going to die. Your family's going to be ruined. But it's very convenient for sure. So are we going to lose conveniences? Are we going to somebody had brought up, I see the caller. Thank you, producer. I'm going to bring the caller in as soon as I finish my thought here. Now, there's people out there spreading the fear-mongering, and yeah, some of it is true about, well, there's certain meats that we get from China. I know we get pork from China. There's a lot of things that we get from China as far as our food sources go, too. And that's a concern of people. Well, my family's going to starve to death if we don't get shipments from China. Now, I don't believe that at all. I believe there's plenty of food here in America to go around. But those are the fears. So let's go ahead, producer, and bring in the first caller, and we'll give them a couple of minutes and let's see what they have to say. All right. I don't know if you're still there, but welcome to LWN. What's your name? Where are you from? Hey, M. Cash, how are you doing? Mm-hmm.
And then I was wondering if any of the other listeners, back in the 70s, didn't they have like a gasoline shortage or something like that?
Yes, they did.
How bad did it get back then? And we survived it.
I think you make a great point there, M. Cash, and there was no sound, but I think we fixed it. I see producer over there. She was on mute when it comes through the computer, so I hope you guys can hear us now, and I'll give her a chance to speak again. So, yeah, we had fuel shortage. We had gas rationing. We made it through not just COVID-19, but we made it through 4 years of the dumbest president in world history. We also made it through the Obama administration. We made it through the Bush administration. We made it through the Clinton administration. And I guess what I can say that I connect with you, M. Cash, is every time there's a change, especially if you're not on the side of the change that is the progressive side, like I'm excited for this change. If you're on the other side of that change, it's scary as hell. And it's concerning as an American saying, holy shit, are we going to be able to make it through this 4 years? Are we going to be able to make it through Trump's tariffs? So I'll let you go ahead and give us another thought, and we'll see if they can hear you there in chat.
Well, I trust Trump completely, so I'm ready to ride it out with him, because we've conquered those things in the past, and so I think we'll be fine.
Tammy, Kristen, you guys have a question or a comment for MCash before we let her go?
I would like to know if you're concerned about the outcome at all, or if you said you trust him and to ride it out. Were you more concerned back then with Biden leading the way and what we were going through, or are you more concerned now that Trump seems to be tipping and rocking the boat in the pot? Which one is worse to you? More concerned now that Trump seems to be tipping and rocking the boat in the pot. Which one is worse to you?
Oh, definitely the previous administration. Oh my God, that was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Kristen, do you have a question or comment for MCash?
Well, here's what I appreciate about this show is that I know that there's obviously a certain audience that follows something, and there's a lot of Trump support here, and I believe in Trump. I also think there's a long-term plan here that's going to work out, but I also am trying to bring a little bit different perspective, and that's mostly what I very much appreciate about this is that we're willing to have the discussions. And so my concern then, and what I would ask you is, when your friends are closing up their businesses that they have worked their entire life for, because they're entrepreneurial, right? They're doing what they're doing, and but now everything's costing more, and people aren't willing to pay maybe for the services that they're doing or something. And a lot of people that I know that have small businesses are struggling, and so I'm wondering then, if we're saying I trust Trump completely and this is going to be fine, how do we respond to them when they're saying, well, that's cool, but my mortgage is up and I can't pay the bills anymore because of this? And that's that's really putting you on the spot, and I'm not meaning to. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and luckily, me personally, I haven't experienced that. I haven't had it, like I said, where I worked at, I've been there for 30 years, we went down to one shift, 4 days a week back in 2008. And, they took turns taking unemployment, but, we snacked back and we went back, full force. So that's the extent that I've seen. So, and I would hate it, but, luckily I haven't had the experience, with any friends losing their businesses or anything.
Yeah, that's fortunate. I like that.
All right. Well, thank you, MCash, for being brave and calling in tonight. Really appreciate it. I hope this is not the last time you call in. We'd really like to get callers who become regular callers, because that's it's also really unique as well here at LWN Network. So thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. And if we could ever talk about prices, because the eggs are not any cheaper, very much prices going down where I'm at.
Well, you know what? That's definitely another conversation we can have for sure.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, MCash. All right. Well, I think she had some very good points. I think you both had good points as well. And yeah, don't forget, Donald Trump did say when he came into office that inflation was going to take a dive. I know gas prices here in Idaho, they've gone down like 10 cents and then gone back up 10 cents. I know, Kristen, the cost of eggs here have gone down just a little bit, but not much, right?
Oh, they're down a little bit from what they were a couple months ago. They were crazy. You couldn't even find them. They were all sold out. It was insane at ridiculous prices. And
remember, they killed the chickens off too.
Yes.
Right?
So yeah, now you can find eggs. They're a little more expensive than they were, but they're not.
Well, Tammy, I want to touch on something that Kristen had actually asked MCash, and I think it's important for us to bring that awareness. But real quick, thank you guys for joining us on YouTube, Rumble, and the X tonight. If you would do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and share us out. That'd be great. And the other thing that I was going to say is, the call-in number. Man, my mind is like, I got so much going on right now. But the call-in number, 620-317-1776. If you guys would like to call in and make a comment, you can drop out of YouTube, Rumble, or X right now, call that number and you can hear the show live while we're talking. I'll bring you in when I got a minute. But would love to have another caller or two tonight. If anybody would like to call in, ask a question, make a comment, make a statement, everyone's welcome. So don't be afraid. And this is what I want to say about Kristen's comment. This is probably something that a lot of people don't think about. And I remember listening to somebody who had explained this the other day. And, you know, there are companies here in America. Maybe it's mom and pop shops. Maybe it's entrepreneurs. And so they build certain things, their product. They build their product. And maybe to build the product here in America, they import those parts to build the product from China. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so now China is going to charge them more for that product, or maybe not even ship it. And so when they do get the product and they have to build their device or whatever they're doing, now the price is going to go up. So does that put them out of business? Does that price that item so far out that normal people can't buy it, which now they're going to lose money? Are they going to close up shops? I think that's a very valid question. I think that's a very valid comment that, you know, again, people are going to get, I don't want to say hurt, but I can't think of any other word other than it's going to affect them, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, I was just going to say that is hurt, because when your business is failing and you are unable to provide the way that you're used to, you are you have employees who are depending on you. You have a family who's depending on you. And each one of those are individuals who are hurt when overall policies change drastically and it really affects your business. And I'm not saying clearly if tariffs started 3 months ago and now all of a sudden we can't make the mortgage payment. Obviously, that's maybe not the best business model to be discussing, but I am just pointing out that there is so much change going on there. And for the small business owner, it doesn't take much for that to become no longer serviceable. And so all the things that we're used to, you know, the carpet cleaners and the manufacturing and everything that we're doing locally, for them to go under.
Tammy?
And well, I was going to say, Trump I reported it on the news last week, that Trump was talking about the small business owners and entrepreneurs. He says, I'm doing what I'm doing to make that great again. Let people dream and have their American dream. But the stuff needs to be made here. We got into trouble when we started outsourcing our products out to China because it was cheaper in other countries, bringing it back here. So, yep, they will probably face some consequences. But they did during COVID, too, during the shutdown. Everybody seems to go after the small guy because the rich guy and the corporations want all the money, power, and control. So I do believe that Trump is paying attention to that. He said, what was it, like 2 out of every 3 jobs in this country are from small businesses and entrepreneurs, which that surprised me. There are millions and millions of jobs. I think it was 600 million or something. It was a crazy number that people were employed by small businesses. So he is paying attention to that. Do we have the answer of what's going to happen? I just know he seems to be confident in what's going on. He hasn't said that people are going to lose their companies and stuff, which makes me think when we start talking about tax breaks, no tax on tips, and all these other EOs he's trying to get through, all the money that's being funneled back into this country from Doge discovering all the lost money, the money that has been spent unwisely, but bringing that in here, it makes me almost think he's going to put something together, some kind of support program for small businesses. I just think he hasn't let that out yet, because I doubt that he would do anything to cause small businesses to go under, because everything he talks about is the complete opposite. And that's my hope, that there's just something out there that he has a plan for we just haven't seen yet. Is the worry and concern real? Absolutely.
Okay, great points. I'm gonna talk about small business, because I brought this up the other night when we did part of this, Tammy. And there may be businesses that outsource their stuff to China and other countries, that it's going to become hard for them to continue, which if you got an entrepreneur mind, you're going to kind of think outside the box and figure out how are you going to change that, right? It also, in my opinion, opens the door for other people to start a business. You know, if a business goes under because of effects from China, maybe a neighbor down the road decides they're going to do the same thing, but they're going to do it here in America. So I think I can see both sides, right? Some people might lose some things, other people might have opportunity. And as far as Trump goes, this is a concern of mine, I guess, is, okay, let's say small businesses across America start suffering, and here comes a stimulus. Now, stimulus to me, to help the small business owner, yeah, it'd be nice, but the problem is that also ushers in more inflation, and then we're right back in the same boat we were for COVID-19 when they started pumping out all that money, all that free money and stuff. I think that affects America in a negative way. So, can Trump navigate through this without without stimulus money? I guess that's to be seen, right?
Yeah, but remember, don't forget all the money that Doge has found and brought back in. Where is it being deposited? Where is it going to be used? We're talking trillions of dollars. So that's why I have faith that there is a plan that is something we haven't seen or unraveled yet.
Well, he's got a big announcement coming up, Tammy. Big announcement. What that is, I don't know.
Well, I think that is going to be on Friday before he leaves D.C. back to go to Florida. I think he's going to let us have a good weekend with that announcement. I know that he said himself it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. But then I heard somebody else say that it was going to be Friday. But he said it's really a big announcement. So
biggest that this country's ever heard.
Yeah.
The biggest.
Huge.
Exactly. Huge. It's huge. Well, and then when let's talk about him being a powerful leader compared to what we had before. And I'm going to make this statement. If negotiating with people the way Biden did, he was very nice. He handed out money left and right. He wheeled and he dealed and he kept giving money. And look at the shape this country was in and how PO'd all the other countries are that they're fighting now. There's war here and there. World War III has been swooped around. They said Trump was going to start. He did not. So if bending over and trying to negotiate like Biden did, being a gentleman, didn't work, then what Trump's doing, we have to hope works, because Biden surely made them happy. You would think everything would be peaceful and Trump would come into his administration and everything would be great. And it wasn't. And now the people are screaming because they don't want to pay back. Just like the Canadian Prime Minister was in the Oval Office with Trump today. And one of the reporters asked Trump, they said, is there anything he can say to you today that is going to make you reduce the tariffs on Canadian goods? And Trump said right in front of him, no, it's just the way it is. He said Canada, right in front of the prime minister sitting next to him, has treated the United States unfairly. And then he said, why is America subsidizing Canada by $200 billion a year? And I'm sure that includes protection and everything else. But he said, we don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything they have other than their friendship. And the prime minister is sitting right there. So he was kind of moving around like a little upset and stuff. But, you know, he took it. You have to be able to negotiate, and you have to be good at it. Trump is a businessman. He's negotiated. And I keep saying this, in New York City. Does everybody remember who had control of New York City in those days when he was building buildings? And yet he made it. He negotiated. Who do you think owned the cement companies that he built these buildings with? So the man knows what he's doing when it comes to negotiating and the art of the deal and building. Is he always going to get everything right like his administration hires? No. Do some of them backstab him? Yes. Do some of them follow through with what they're supposed to do? Yes. But he's paying attention, and I believe he's doing the best he can do for this country. Biden did not do that.
Kristen?
Well, I honestly am listening to Tammy, and I think you have a lot of really valid points. And I do believe that Trump has the country's best interest at heart. And if I'm supposed to be a little bit contrary here, it is literally just to say that we have to survive it in the meantime. And that's where where I'm coming from with perspective is saying I can see that this is something that has been needed. It's almost a reset for the country, right? We are out of control with inflation. We're out of control with, we could say that about interest rates, depending on where you're at with it. But I mean, we're getting 30% of our lumber from Canada, and our building prices are out of control. And so we have just so many things playing into it that I would say that I think that he's doing a lot of things that are going to help long term. It is more of what is that going to look like for us in, let's say, the next year. Okay, let's just put it in like smaller terms that we can deal with. And as much as I want to say I believe in Trump, I believe in his policy, I think that he is doing what's best for America. When I can't afford to do the normal things that I do for children in the house and stuff, then all of a sudden I start thinking, I wonder how long this is going to take to play out. And is this really what's best? And so that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So what kind of things, Kristen, are you worried about when it comes to not being able to provide for children? Is there anything specific or just generally?
I'm not concerned about buying stuff on Temu for them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like kids like a certain brand of mac and cheese. Let's go there, right? Yeah. And we are all a consumption society. We are all used to, we get what we want when we want it. And if we can't find it, we just like next day order it. And I am not saying that that's correct necessarily, is that we can't learn to change our ways, because obviously we can, but I am saying that if we are going to the grocery stores, and it is like it was in COVID, that things are bare, you can't actually get what you want or what you need. And yeah, a lot of us could source, let's say our meat, right, from somebody locally and get some of the things. But there's a lot of things that if we just straight don't have things on the shelves, because what they're predicting, and who knows, I shouldn't say what I heard and what brought up the whole topic of discussion was really just people saying if goods are not coming in, you guys know the statistics, it takes hours when something major happens before the grocery store shelves are sold out. You can't get it. I no longer have bottled water to send with the kids to go mow the lawn. I mean, it's silly things really that are conveniences that are the first things that come to my mind. But really after that, it is it's taking care of all of the things. And I can just tell you just from personal experience, and I don't even think that I am a major consumer compared to a lot of people, but I really think that there's so many things that I can just relate to that I'm no longer going to be able to have if that becomes a situation. And so it's worth having the discussion. And what does that look like? And is that reality, or is that just for fun to talk about?
No, I guess I'll go to you next, Tammy. I want to say this. To me, this is how I'm going to look at it. We are not just a country, but we're a global society that likes instant gratification. And I think a lot of the initial scare might be, oh my God, Temu can't operate anymore, or I can't get a few items from Amazon. So for me, I'm going to back up a little bit and just kind of see how that all kind of plays out. If it's instant gratification and convenience for me, I'm not sweating it. Not a big deal. A lot of things I can go without. Hell, I've gone without new underwear for a long time. So not a big deal. But if it's something to feed the kids, obviously, or I can't get fuel in my truck to go to work, then that's an issue. If I can't buy work boots to go to work, that's an issue. If I can't clothe myself, minus the underwear, to go to work, that's an issue. Or if we can't buy, $500 eggs at Walmart, then that might be an issue. But so for me, I'm going to back up a little bit, not worry about instant gratification and convenience, and only worry if necessity becomes issue. Does that make sense, Tammy?
Yeah, it really does. And that is the whole kit and caboodle. And what I was trying to say earlier, we are spoiled by instant gratification. Trying to take, electronics from our kids is like World War III in your own home, because they want to spend the amount of time they want to spend on it. So us trying to back away and think about when we were growing up and being young, we really didn't have much at least I didn't. Maybe it's my generation, since you say I'm a grandma, but I don't know about your generation. But we'd play outside and we'd create things, and it was great. And now kids want the best of the best. They want the top of the line electronics, and it goes on and on and on. So yes, we overconsume, we overspoil ourselves. It is America, and we are spoiled. We are rich in so many ways. But you know what? A lot of our values, morals, and standards have flipped out and went away because of that, because we are more concerned about things of the world instead of relationships and friendships and eating a good dinner at table with friends and family, and just living from the heart like our grandparents or great grandparents did. And kids are sassy, kids are lazy, kids are, not all kids, but a lot of them don't want to learn to drive right away. And I found that with my kids. They don't freaking want to go out there. They want to stay behind their computers. My son was a big one. He started late. Thank God, the good Lord, he finally has a job. He became a fireman. So I'm very happy about that. But on the other hand, I'm scared to death because, that's a dangerous job. But I had to have patience with them because they have to find their own way as well. You have to direct them and help them find their own way, but you can't do it too much, because then they stay in that little rut of you bring them everything they need. Or like I used to open the door and say to my son to bring his laundry in there, and he'd go, "What?" Because he was playing that dang game. And I said, "Do that one more time and I'm going to yank it out of the wall." So what I'm saying is we got to get back to the values and the standards we had growing up. And that's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
We just consume. DoorDash. What the heck? Do you know what a fortune DoorDash is? And that's what these kids do. If they do work at all, they order DoorDash because they're too lazy to walk to the kitchen and make something. My son used to do that, and he was working. He's like, I have a job, and you can't tell me what to do because I'm over 18. And I'm like, dude, you're under my roof. So we had some real battles in this house. It wasn't a perfect family, but that's what I think is going on too. There's just another adjustment period. I feel like when Trump says we're heading for the golden age, I truly believe that. And I hope it's because we're full of love, light, happiness, and family again. And that's what we need to get back to, I feel.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm going to get back to Kristen here in a minute, but I need to say a couple things. One, call us and give us your opinion on these tariffs and how you think they might affect us in a positive way, negative way. 620-317-1776. Go ahead and call in. So you made me think about something, Tammy and Kristen, about this whole conversation. And even Mcash, when she called in a little bit ago and said, "Hey, we survived this before. We survived the gas crisis. We survived the missile crisis during the Kennedy years. We survived the Cold War. We survived all these things, right?" And it brings me back to February of 2020. Brings me back when Trump said, "Hey, there's this virus that was created in China, is headed our way. Things are going to get rough." A couple of months later, here we are in the midst of this plandemic, hoax, whatever you want to call it. And me personally, just me as a sole person here during that time, it made me think about a lot of things. It made me think about my spirituality. Made me think about my family, my friends, what my priorities in life were, and then it really brought out like this thing in me where I'm like, you know what? I need to be self-sufficient. I can't rely on Walmart and the grocery store and all these other things and all these amenities, all this convenience, all this instant gratification anymore. I need to make sure that whatever happens, we survive. And I went into the survival mode, and I started raising chickens, and I started raising hogs, and I started a garden, and all these things. And I guess where I'm going with this is COVID-19 was a horrible thing, but also think it had some good parts to it, where it forced people to rethink their lives, and it forced people to figure out how the hell are you going to survive if, like Kristen says, all of a sudden you can't get something. Right? If you go to Walmart and the shelves are bare, how the hell are you going to survive? Well, think outside the box. Start being a little more of that survival mentality and that self-reliance instead of always being reliant on the government. Be reliant on yourself and be able to figure that shit out. So that's the comment I wanted to make. Again, if you want to call in, I see John H. in there too. 620-317-1776. Call in, give us a comment. We'll take a couple more callers before we get out of here. We'll give you a couple of minutes on the phone. Kristen, your thoughts?
Well, although you're not wrong when you say it forced you to become more self-reliant and to start thinking about things and take care of things yourself. And I do see there's even when we're not discussing the price of eggs or whether you can buy things on the shelves, there's a huge movement towards people doing their own thing. Everyone I know seems like has some sort of group of people that they want to go homestead with. And everybody's talking about doing something different because there's something broken, clearly. You know, Tammy, you were just discussing, like, we literally are fighting a 17-year-old child. This boy does not want to get off a video game to go drive. Seriously? You can't get out of the house and go do your own thing? And it's so common. You and I obviously are not the only households in America dealing with this. Right. And so is the system broken? But here's the problem is that we have allowed it. We've created it, right? And so I'm not trying to call anybody out on their age here, but I am saying that there are like generational things that are happening. And so what we're watching is something that I'm seeing, and I'm looking at these kids like, can you actually do this? I can't even make sourdough. I've tried. I mean, is it edible? Sure. I mean, we could eat it, but it should be so simple, right? It should be simple. It's not actually simple. And so I am just laughing thinking about, like taking the kids camping and looking at them when they're trying to figure out how to do anything that seems
how to roast a hot dog.
It seems like basic, right? Because if you grew up in like the younger generations, like we were talking about, when you were saying about our childhood and stuff, it wasn't spent behind a screen. And there's something to be said for behind a screen, right? I learn all sorts of little facts about things that, bless these kids, they learn on YouTube. And I'm not against it. I am saying that I am a little concerned if that shuts down. They are now left to their own devices in the future, and we're not looking super short term. We're saying like, hey, future-wise, trade has completely changed, and we're not doing this anymore. And you have to reinvent your skills and your capabilities. What are they actually going to do, and are they going to be motivated enough to do it when there's a screen right there?
Yeah. You're exactly right.
You guys are talking about the kids and the next generation, which scares the hell out of me a lot of times. But again, my mind's going other places, and I'm thinking about even today in 2025. Here it is, summer's coming around, and there's farmers markets popping off all over this country. And so when we're talking about the shelves being bare, that was another thing that COVID-19 forced a lot of people to do. We started finding ways of buying our meat through private individuals. And I think it really sparked a thing for farmers and ranchers too. Like farmers and ranchers now are selling their produce, selling their meat locally. They're not shipping it to Oklahoma to the slaughterhouse and then it gets butchered and it goes across the shelves all across Walmart. They are starting to sell to individuals. Like I bought a half a cow, bought more beef this year. Like we buy locally now. We still get hamburger and stuff once in a while at the store, but for the most part, being self-reliant and finding those connections through your own community to feed your family. If people are really that scared about what the coming days, weeks, and months might look like when these tariffs, again, if it's instant gratification, if it's convenience, throw that shit out the window and not worry about it. If it's feeding your family, you don't have to rely on Walmart. You can go find that stuff right in your local neighborhood, right in your local area, and you're buying and helping out the farmer, you're buying and helping out the rancher, and it keeps us all going, right? So, I don't know. We got to wrap this up here soon. We're coming up on an hour. Doesn't look like anyone else is going to call in tonight, so we're going to roll into final thought here in just a minute as soon as I get done with my thought. But it's resilience. And America has always been resilient. And I think that sometimes people forget about that, and I think sometimes it was never bred in them in the first place, or it got lost in the history books because they teach different history now. But that was what America was about, was being resilient. We made it through some shit, man. We made it across the ocean here. The natives were already here and lived here forever. Then that all changed. We've made it through wars. We've made it through civil war. We've made it through, the Black Friday shit. Help me out here, folks. The crash of the stock market.
Oh yeah.
We made it through that. Like we made it through so many things because America is resilient. And the Great Depression. Thank you. The Great Depression. We made it through the Great Depression. I mean, we made it through all these things. This is just one more change in our path here in America. And I don't see it as being something that we all need to be super afraid of. Concerned? Yes. Super afraid and fearful and fear-mongering. In my opinion, that's a no. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Kristen is not used to this, so I'm going to give her a couple more minutes to think about her final thought. But Tammy, I'm going to go to you first and allow you to give your final thought for tonight.
Well, for one, I think Kristen did a fantastic job, and I think she should be on more often because I like her perspective, and I love how she can have a great conversation without yelling and screaming and just knocking people around. We need more conversations like that in this country. I've been saying it for a long time. Second of all, if you think about the Amish aren't dealing with what we're dealing mentally, are they? The Amish have got it right all along. They haven't changed. Now there's different extremes or different levels of them, but they still build great buildings. They still build great homes, and they have a nice, simple, great the best furniture
and
ever.
Good bread. They have awesome bread too.
All food, jams, all of it. Now there's some bad aspects too, but like I said, the extremes. But really, if we just take it easy and we simplify our lives and put the priorities that really matter first, all that other stuff is just stuff. You know what I mean? You can have a simple life. You grab a fishing pole and you go fishing and you have a picnic. That is beautiful. That's wonderful. That is mind and soul food. And people don't do that. They sit in front of the screen. Now, what Kristen said earlier about the screen is a good thing. Yes, there's plenty to learn on. Gosh, it's how much you use it and how you use it, because it can be good or it can be bad. But I think the simple life and just the family, the community, and like you said, going to the farmers markets, we have them all over here in the South. It's amazing. That's the way, that is a simpler way to live, so you're not so stressed out and you learn to reprioritize your life, and your kids too, because kids suffer from peer pressure. So-and-so's got this down the street. I want that. It's like, too bad you're not going to get it. We have to show them tools to be able to function in society, fend for themselves, fix things, build things, all that. And so hopefully we can do that and refocus instead of being fear-mongered and believing everything that we see and hear through a TV screen or a monitor. And that's my final thought.
Thank you, Tammy. Kristen?
I like your final thought. Well, I guess my final thought is I have to figure out which camera to look at here. I got this. Okay, I'm looking at the right camera. My final thought is not so much that I am trying to defend this "we should be afraid" situation. I think it's more that I see things, right, and I am looking at it. I know LW well, and I know that he is looking at the political landscape of everything, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, this is worth talking about, because across the board, people are discussing what's happening and if there are shortages. And oh gosh, I had such a good thought and I started talking and now I'm losing it. But it's going to come back to me. I'm going to keep jabbering and it's going to come back to me. But I'm not.
All right, I'll take over. I'll take over.
That's what happens.
I'm going to think
live.
of it.
Yeah, you think of it, and I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. So here's part of my final thought. I'll give half of it, and that way Kristen can think about what she's saying there, and then I'll wrap this up. So I believe that the only way that you get true growth is through change. And I think what's happened here in America is everybody has gotten so used to the whole comfort zone of the way America has been for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And they're scared to death of change. And I totally can understand that. But here's the fact. If you allow the change to happen, and instead of trying to butt your head up against it and push back on it, maybe allow that change to happen here in America. And it might lead you to a whole new career, maybe a better career than you had before because things aren't the same anymore. Maybe it allows you to grow as a person and you become an entrepreneur. Like, there's so much good that can come from this change, but everybody is pushing so hard not to allow it to happen because they're scared to death. And a lot of it, honestly, to be blunt, they don't like the fucking guy. And they can't stand the fucking guy. And so that's why they hate all this damn change. And I should say, you know what? Tough titty, said the kitty, because he got the votes. He's the president. He's the one that the American people voted for. They wanted this change, and that's exactly what they're getting. And so that's just half of my final thought. I'm going to go back to Kristen.
I'm really stuck on tough titty, said the kitty. That's my favorite. No, so I think where I was going that I totally spaced on, I'm sorry. I get nervous. I'm new to this. Okay. So I was really bringing this up, and I want to say it because I have been a single mom for years now, right? And the reality, I think, of how I look at it when I hear things like that and realize that you really have to vet everything. And so you're looking at it and you're like, well, is that the truth or is this the truth? And somewhere in the middle probably lies what's actually happening. But when you see that, and I think about the repercussions of what would that look like as a sole provider for multiple kids and stuff, and how does our life need to change? And the reality is that it's going to be hard, even as someone who recognizes what that would be, to make significant changes because we all have obligations, right? Things that we've signed up for, mortgages, things for how much you're paying for kids' school and what that all looks like, vehicles, all the things. And so I am just wanting to recognize that that is difficult to live through. But at the same time, I think we have focused a little bit on, obviously being Americans and being survivors, but the reality is our species is all about surviving. This is literally what we have done. We have crossed continents for this. And I do believe even the kids that I make fun of and say, that they can't be pulled off their video games, they're certainly capable. We're all capable of doing things. It's just, I think, a matter of nobody wants to be behind the eight ball, right? We all want to recognize when change is coming and learn to be adaptive ahead of time and not do it when it's too late and you're looking back and thinking, oh man, I wish I would have done something different. So being a little bit scrupulous about what you're intaking and thinking as you're planning moving forward, I think is really important in this conversation.
All right. Well, there was a good final thought. So she got through the rest of it. Proud of her for being here tonight and throwing this conversation out. And so, here's the rest of my final thought. And as always, thank you, Tammy, for being co-host. And thank you to our producers. Thank you for everybody watching us on YouTube, Rumble, and the X. Hit that like button before you leave tonight. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Share us out. If you can repost, reshare, would be awesome. So my final thought is the last half of it is planning on doing another show tomorrow. And I talked to Jeff B this afternoon. He couldn't be on last night because he lost power. Thunderstorms took the power out. He's got a backup generator now. He couldn't be here tonight. I mean, he was in chat, but he had work he had to do. So tomorrow night, unless something changes, we're planning on doing a show with Jeff B. So we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll have the call-in show. I plan on doing pretty much most of these shows from here on out are going to be call-in. So if you guys enjoy that call-in show, the show that we used to have was call-in, but it was a lot more complicated. Now it's just as simple as dialing 620-317-1776. I just love saying that. It's a fun number
He's
to repeat.
so proud of that number. Yeah, so proud of it. And you guys, don't be afraid. If Kristen can do it when she didn't want to do it and she's not experienced, you guys can certainly give a phone call. You don't even have to show your face, right?
Absolutely.
So see,
that's the other best part of the call-in show is it's no more video. So you don't have to try to figure out how to turn your camera on or off. You just call the number. Wait in the waiting room. You'll be able to hear us live in the waiting room until I ask the producer to bring you in. So pretty simple, pretty easy. absolutely love the conversation tonight. I appreciate Kristen for bringing it to our attention so we could talk about it. And we got lots more planned for you guys. Pretty excited for some of the upcoming shows that Tammy and I are preparing. Me and my co-host Neil on the Wolfpack Sunday. So more to come. And I'm going to go ahead and give the cue to producer. Hold on, I just want to tell the producer real quick that we're getting ready to close out. So that way they can tee up the outro and have it ready. So go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought we were going to go out. And I was just going to say it would be really cool if Kristen came on some of our conspiracy shows, because I would love to see and hear what she has to say about aliens and Bigfoot and all these monsters.
That's fun ideas.
So
this is a dangerous can you just open.
That's where her and I differ on a lot of things, too. And I differ from you, too. So it'd be a great conversation. You know, Tammy, you and I, we used to be part of the show, the 3 at 3, and really miss Brother Shane for sure. And he was a special part of that 3 at 3. And we didn't get too many under our belt because his health declined and he wasn't able to participate anymore. But man, I sure miss the interaction of having multiple people. I don't want 20 people, but having 3-4 people, it makes the show go by so fast. I'm sitting there watching the time click by. I'm like, holy cow. Tammy's talking the whole time. I've only got to say 1 or 2 things. So
he's pouting. Jeff B., you could come on up too for one of those shows. You know what I mean? It would just be great to have different people's opinions. And I love how chat keeps talking and says things as well. So we look at that, and I like their participation there as well, because you can only have a couple people up here, otherwise it gets chaotic. So I didn't mean to derail the goodbye, but I wanted to get that in there. Sorry.
All right, producer, let's get rid of Tammy. We'll talk to you later.
He's gonna shut me out.
All right, well, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. Really appreciate it. Like I said, hit that like button. Share us out, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you tomorrow evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hopefully with some Jeff B. topic, comments, conversation, and then don't forget Tammy the Hammer Nation tomorrow for Headline Hits, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on these 3 channels, which are YouTube, Rumble, and the X. And with that being said, we'll catch you on the next one.
Many times I walk the road with no end in sight and question my life. Countless times I've sacrificed and lost my way. I've been down this road before. I've struggled with the pain when it pours. No one knows how I feel when I have to start again, and there's no one there to save me. Do you know how it feels when your world is gonna end, when I don't have a friend to stand with me? I'm gonna make a comeback. I'm gonna claw my way back to the top. I'm gonna get it all back. My comeback is my favorite sight. Yeah, I'm gonna make a comeback and rise up this time. And look into my soul and see a graveyard, a crossroads filled with despair and defeat. Look into my eyes and see the haters call my name. Look into my soul and see redemption on its way. The demand is high, risk it all and put it all on the line. I'm gonna take my shot and never stop. I'm gonna swallow my pride and put it all on the line and rise up this time. I'm gonna make a comeback. I'm gonna claw my way back to the top. I'm gonna get it all back. My comeback. I'm gonna claw my way back to the top. I'm gonna get it all back. My comeback is right there inside. Yeah, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna make a comeback. I'm gonna claw my way back